We are so excited to announce what we believe to be one of the most important parts of Forge Christian High School. As we begin Forge, we are starting something called House, which is a system of community designed to enhance student connection, service, leadership opportunities, and ultimately invigorate and excitement into our new school. It is important for our school to create meaningful environments where no student will be left behind. To do this, every person in our school, staff and student alike, will be sorted and placed into one of our 4 houses. The houses will serve as a community within the school to allow us to experience intentional connection. To accomplish this task, houses will compete together, serve together, worship together, and lead together to be the cultural engine of Forge. These houses will remain the same each year, and each individual will stay in the same house for their entirety at Forge Christian High School. If family members attend school together, they will be placed in the same house. However, not to worry, there will be plenty of time each and every day for every person at Forge to interact with their friends, teammates, and peers that are not in the same house. There will be lots of friendly competition among the entire school as well. Each house is represented by a patron of the faith, all selected by our Forge student leaders. Each house is represented by a specific crest, color, symbol, and will hold true to specific values of their patron. Each house will also have goals that students will continue to work on crafting throughout their entire time at Forge. Without further ado, we are eager to announce to you our 4 houses and the culture team heading each of them up.
House Aylwood. House Aylwood is named after Gladys Aylwood, also known as the Little Woman or Virtuous One. She was a British-born evangelical Christian missionary to China and Taiwan who worked to end the traditional Chinese practice of binding women's feet. She led a large group of orphans out of occupied China, set up orphanages in Hong Kong and Taiwan, and ran an inn where in the evenings she would entertain her guests with Bible stories. Against all odds, she made her own way to China because no missionary agency was willing to send a simple housemaid. So instead, she spent her entire fortune to get to China. She was a revered figure among the people, taking in orphans and adopting several herself, as well as intervening in a volatile prison riot and advocating prison reform, while risking her life many times to help those in need. Nothing got in her way. House Aylwood is represented by the color yellow, the symbol of a river, and the 3 main values of being creative, bold, and fearless.
House Carmichael. House Carmichael is named after Amy Carmichael, an Irish Christian missionary who opened an orphanage and founded a mission in Dohnavur, India. She served in India for 55 years and wrote 35 books about her work as a missionary. She worked for a better life for women and girls and fought against the sex trafficking and abuse of children. With the help of her missionary companions, she began housing children at the Dohnavur Fellowship, a safe house for former child prostitutes, which would become the hallmark of her missionary work. She stayed at this safe house the rest of her life, rescuing over 1,000 children from slavery. Despite facing personal health struggles throughout her life, Carmichael embodied a life of faith and obedience. Her life and ministry begs the question, do we love Christ enough to forsake earthly comforts? Carmichael was so heavenly minded that she accomplished remarkable earthly good. House Carmichael is represented by the color green, the symbol of a lotus flower, and the 3 main values are grit, courage, and compassion.
House Pascal. House Pascal is named after Blaise Pascal, a French mathematician, physicist, inventor, and philosopher. He was a child prodigy who was educated by his father and is known for his inventions of the early digital calculator, a syringe, a hydraulic press, and the roulette wheel. He laid the foundation for the modern theory of probabilities, formulated what came to be known as Pascal's principle of pressure, and propagated a religious doctrine that taught the experience of God through the heart. He strongly believed that faith and reason are not opposed to each other, but instead complement each other. He even kept a journal entry of an experience he had with God sewn in his jacket, close to his heart for at least 8 years of his life. He would take great care to remove it and sew it into whatever jacket he wore each day. His faith was paramount for him, and he took great care to focus on it each day in his later years. Many refer to his Christian writings as the greatest book of Christian apologetics ever written. Has Pascal is represented by the color orange, the symbol of fire, and the three main values of being innovative, disciplined, and tenacious.
House Watchman. House Watchman is named after Watchman Nee, a Chinese church leader and church teacher who worked in China during the 20th century, the 1900s. His evangelism was influenced by the Plymouth Brethren. After receiving Christ as his Savior, he dedicated his entire life to serving God. His decision was an immediate surrender to give up his life plans for the Lord's plans. Although some of his time was spent preaching to a large church of 5,000 to 7,000 people in Shanghai, the main result of his work was the founding of hundreds of house churches throughout China. These groups were centered on Bible study, witnessing to neighbors, and fellowship. The goal for his readers was that they would give themselves wholly to God and become a useful person in God's hands. Following the communist takeover of China, Watchman Nee was arrested in 1952 for the sake of the gospel, where he would be falsely condemned, judged, and sentenced to live the rest of his days in confinement until his death in 1972. House Watchman is represented by the color purple, the symbol of a tree, and the three main values of being surrendered, loyal, and vigilant.
House, a place of purpose where you belong, serve, lead. We cannot wait to see what God has in store for each and every student as they find a place here at Forge and in their house family.